At 2 in the morning in Dhaka, the city finally falls silent. The heat still lingers in the air, but inside Bangladesh Bank, the lights are off, desks stand empty, chairs are neatly pushed in. The people entrusted with guarding an entire nation's money have gone home, sleeping beside their families, believing everything is normal. There are no signs of danger, no sense of urgency. Yet on the other side of the ocean, something has already begun to move. Money is leaving, not in trucks, not in suitcases, but silently through screens that no one in Dhaka is watching. Each transaction looks familiar, almost boring, identical to the thousands of transfers processed every single day. Somewhere, someone believes they are witnessing the perfect crime unfold. Nearly $1 billion is quietly drifting away, unnoticed. No alarms, no raised voices, no hands reaching for the phone. And no one yet knows that a plan prepared over many months is about to collapse because of something painfully human. Not a weapon, not malware, just one wrong letter. This is not just a hacking story, and it is not simply about money. It is a story about how the world runs on fragile trust between people. Nearly $1 billion is not an abstract number. It is sweat, taxes, and the future of millions who will never see the screens glowing in the night. Behind every transfer is a deeply human assumption that the sender knows what they are doing, that the recipient is real, that the system will not be betrayed. At the center of that trust sits an invisible network called SWIFT. It does not move money. It moves trust between banks across the planet. Trillions of dollars pass through it every day. Not because machines are powerful, but because people believe everything is under control. But when that trust is exploited, when just one human link loosens its grip, the consequences do not stop at one bank. They can ripple across the entire world. Bangladesh Bank is not the cold fortress people often imagine. It is a living institution run every day by very ordinary people. Employees arrive on time. They check records, sign documents, drink tea, exchange brief conversations in the hallway. They do not think of themselves as guarding a treasure coveted by global criminals. They are simply doing familiar work, repeating the same routines day after day. Most of Bangladesh's assets, especially foreign currency like US dollars, are not kept in vaults in Dhaka. They sit far away in secure accounts at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. This is entirely normal for central banks around the world. The money must be there to settle trade, pay for imports, and stabilize the economy. Every day, Bangladesh Bank sends and receives the same kinds of transfer instructions. Familiar formats, familiar procedures. Nothing that invites suspicion. That familiarity creates a sense of safety, and it is precisely that sense of safety that prevents anyone from noticing that within this perfectly ordinary routine, a disaster is quietly taking shape. The SWIFT system may sound cold and technical, but at its core, it is deeply human. SWIFT does not physically move money from one place to another. It sends messages that say, trust me, move this amount of money to that destination. Every day, millions of these messages travel across time zones, borders, and languages. And every message rests on one simple assumption. The sender is real. The sender knows what they are doing. The system does not feel doubt. It does not question intent. It checks only one thing. Is the format correct? Does the name match? Are the codes valid? If everything looks right, the system trusts. That trust allows the world to function smoothly, but it also carries a very human weakness. If one person is deceived, if one instruction is crafted to look perfect, the entire system will carry out the rest without hesitation. In a world where trust is encoded into text and numbers, that mechanical precision can become the most dangerous doorway of all. From January 2016, the intruders were already inside Bangladesh Bank systems, but they did not rush. They did not take a single dollar. They stayed quietly, like shadows. Day after day, they watched. Who logged in first each morning? Who was usually the last to leave? Tiny habits that even employees barely noticed. They learned how the bank breathed, the slow rhythm of work, the busy hours, the quiet gaps. They paid attention to details that seemed meaningless. The familiar hum of the Swift printer running at night, the moments it printed paper, the moments it fell silent, the times when no one stood nearby. In their eyes, the bank was no longer an institution. It was a living organism with patterns that could be predicted. That patience made everything more dangerous. These were not impulsive thieves. They were observers, waiting for the moment when human attention faded, when routines felt safe, when no one believed they were being watched from inside. The key to everything was timing. In Bangladesh, the weekend does not fall on Saturday and Sunday like much of the world. It begins on Friday. That means when Thursday evening ends, offices close, employees leave, and the city slips into a familiar family rhythm. But across the ocean, in New York, the workday continues as usual. Systems remain online, banks continue processing transactions. In that gap between time zones, people disappear, but systems do not. No one is sitting in Dhaka to ask questions. No one is picking up the phone to confirm. Only automated procedures remain, doing exactly what they were designed to do. It is the perfect moment. When the bank sleeps, but global finance stays awake. And in that quiet window, the observers find their opportunity. Humans step away, leaving behind a system ready to trust anything that looks right. There is one small detail, almost invisible, that sends a chill down the spine. Inside Bangladesh Bank, every Swift transfer usually leaves behind a very human trace. A printed page, the familiar sound of a printer running. That is how employees know money has moved, that something has happened. But on that night, the printer had been tampered with. It was still there, still connected, but it was unnaturally silent. No paper slid into the tray. No sound broke the quiet of the empty office. Transfers were being sent, flowing through the system, yet leaving no physical trace for human eyes to catch. And because no paper appeared, no questions were asked. No one suspected a machine that had always behaved exactly as expected. No one imagined that silence itself was a warning sign. In that moment, the intruders were not just controlling the system. They were controlling what humans believed they would see. When eyes see nothing, ears hear nothing, and habits remain unbroken, vigilance quietly fades away. Then, the moment arrives. Transfer orders begin to appear. Not one, but dozens. Back to back, fast, clean, precise. Each one looks identical to legitimate transactions that had happened thousands of times before. Nothing stands out. Nothing looks wrong. Money is simply going where it has been instructed to go. Millions of dollars leave Bangladesh Bank's account and flow into banks in the Philippines. Then more instructions follow, heading toward Sri Lanka. The numbers climb minute by minute. 20 million, 30 million, 50 million. Somewhere, in dark rooms lit by computer screens, someone is watching confirmations appear line by line. Heartbeats rise with every approved transfer. This is no longer a plan on paper. This is real money. Numbers large enough to change countless lives. And the most terrifying part is how smoothly everything is working. No one calls back, no one asks questions, no signal suggests anything is wrong. The money keeps flowing, cold and precise, as if the global financial system itself has opened the door and whispered, "Go on, everything is fine." In New York, inside the Federal Reserve, the night does not feel as quiet as it does in Dhaka. Screens glow, systems hum. An employee scans a list of newly received transactions. The number of transfer requests is higher than usual, higher than what feels normal for a central bank. There is a vague sensation, hard to name. Not an alarm, not fear, just a flicker of hesitation. The employee checks again. Bank name, transaction codes, formatting. Everything is correct. Too correct. No technical errors. No obvious signs of forgery. Everything looks exactly like hundreds of legitimate transfers processed before. And that perfection creates a silent pause. In a massive system where people are trained to trust procedure, doubt does not always have a place. The employee continues working, carrying a fragile feeling that maybe, just maybe, something is off. But that feeling is too small to stop a machine that is already in motion. Amid the dense stream of transactions, one transfer slows everything down. $20 million. Destination, Sri Lanka. On the screen, the recipient name appears like all the others. But something tiny makes the eye linger for a fraction longer. One letter. Just one. The reader does not know why they read it again. There is no alarm, no red warning. Just a deeply human instinct that something is not right. The organization's name ends with a familiar word, but it is not quite right. Not foundation, fandation. The moment stretches longer than usual, maybe only a few seconds. But in a world that moves at the speed of light, those seconds are an eternity. The employee tilts their head, rereading each letter, checking whether they are mistaken. A simple question passes through the mind. Am I being too cautious? Or is this something I cannot ignore? That hesitation, not an algorithm, not a security system, slows a transfer worth tens of millions of dollars. One person rereading one word in a world accustomed to believing everything is already under control. A question is sent quietly, routinely, no urgency, no panic, just a request for confirmation. From Deutsche Bank, a polite message goes out to Bangladesh Bank. Please verify the recipient information. Please confirm the organization name. Then everything falls silent. No reply, no return call, no one answers. In Dhaka, the night is still deep. Apartments are dark, families sleep. The people who could answer that question are sound asleep, unaware that the global financial system is waiting for their response. The silence stretches minute by minute, and in that empty space, tension grows without a single word spoken. The system does not know what to do when humans do not respond. It waits. Further transactions are put on hold. The river of money that had been rushing forward begins to slow, not because of a firewall, not because of an emergency button, but because no one on the other end has confirmed that everything is normal. In that moment, silence becomes the most dangerous character of all. It makes no sound. It triggers no alert. Yet it holds back hundreds of millions of dollars, simply because people are asleep and cannot answer a very simple question. From that moment of silence, everything begins to collapse in a chain reaction. In New York, the Federal Reserve decides to hold the remaining transfer orders. Not cancel them, not approve them, just pause. But for those watching the money from the shadows, it is the first sign that control is slipping away. Transactions that once flowed smoothly now hang suspended between systems, not moving forward, not moving back. As if the entire machine has hesitated at once. And then, in Dhaka, the very thing the intruders tried to prevent finally happens. The Swift printer, silent until now, comes back to life. Paper begins sliding into the tray, one page after another. Transaction records spill out in clusters, like a delayed confession. Transfer orders, massive numbers, all laid bare. In that instant, the advantage no longer belongs to the intruders. Time is no longer on their side. Every printed page is a step forward for the truth and a step backward for a plan that once felt perfect. The dominoes have started to fall, quietly, without explosions. Just human systems and people, one link at a time, realizing something has slipped beyond their control. The pages keep coming, endlessly, as if the system is trying to make up for its earlier silence. Employees gather in the room. No one speaks. Each person picks up a printout, reads slowly, then reads again. The numbers are too large to process immediately. The destination's too distant to feel familiar. There is no shouting, no panic, only a silence that thickens with every page. One person looks up at another, then back down. A brief exchange of glances is enough to understand that something has gone very far. A room once defined by routine now feels heavy. Each page is a cold shock to awareness. No words are needed. Everyone senses the same thing. This is no small mistake. This is a disaster taking shape. And that silence, without noise or emotional outbursts, is what makes the moment truly frightening. When no one knows what to say, it means the truth has moved beyond anything they had prepared for. In the end, reality offers no perfect ending. Not everything is saved in time. $81 million leaves the system before the door closes. The money does not vanish into thin air. It flows into accounts in the Philippines, then is quickly withdrawn, rerouted, and poured into brightly lit casinos. There, it becomes chips, wagers, and winnings that are almost impossible to trace. By the time investigators follow the trail, much of the money has dissolved into crowds, music, and sleepless nights of the gambling world. Bangladesh Bank fights to recover whatever it can. Calls are made, documents sent, emergency meetings pile up. A small portion is returned. The rest is not. It lies beyond reach, past every late effort. For the people facing those numbers, this is not just lost money. It is the helpless realization that even when a greater catastrophe is stopped, the damage can still be deep. No words make 81 million feel smaller, and nothing erases the fact that, in a very brief moment, a piece of the future slipped out of their hands. After everything, this is not a story about technology, not about malware, firewalls, or complex lines of code, and not only about hackers. It is a story about people who trust the systems they built, about people who grow tired after long days of work, about one person who pauses for a few extra seconds to reread a single word. In a world where money moves faster than thought, that deeply human moment changes history. One wrong letter does not just delay a transaction. It exposes the weakness of an entire system built on trust. And it reminds us that no matter how advanced technology becomes, everything still begins and ends with people. Attention, caution, hesitation at the right moment. Sometimes, what stands between disaster and safety for an entire nation is not a new algorithm, but a person alert enough to ask a simple question. Is this word really correct?